Adventure on Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
Wake up, America! It's time for the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY.com, West Palm Beach's #1 internet radio station. Here's your host, the Pipeman.
This is the Pipeman here on the Adventures of Pipeman W4CY Radio, and we're going way north from where I am. For you listeners, you know that I'm down in Costa Rica, and now we're going up to Canada because I love so many bands in Canada, and I do love, we were just talking about this before the interview, I love the publicist who set this up because he's one of the best publicists out there, so shout out to John. And we have with us today Paul from Marble Ghosts. What a badass band, and what a great story I'm going to talk about on this interview. So, Paul, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. I want to start off right off the bat by talking about something we were talking about before the interview that I think is so cool. Your band is a multi-generational band, okay? Which in 2024, that almost seems like unfathomable because of all the idiotic stuff going on in the world where everybody's against each other. And it's like, oh, Gen Z this, Gen X that, Boomer this, millennial that, older millennial, younger millennial, blah, 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 blah. And like, we're so separated and divided. So it puts a huge smile on my face that you have a band that has multiple generations. You're the oldest of the band, right. Which, hey, shout out to whoever's Gen Z in the band that they wanted you in the band. And not only that, I think by having those multi-generational, you can create some music that is ultra unique and ultra special.
Absolutely. It's been great so far, and yeah, going back to what you're saying about being a multi-generational band, it seems to work for us. We have Adam, the guitar player, youngest member, and he's very much into modern metalcore. Dylan, very much a fan of early '90s grunge. Jared, the drummer, more like me, more into traditional metal. Death metal, that kind of stuff. And I grew up listening to 80s glam. I mean, the first album I ever bought was Shout at the Devil, Motley Crue's in 1983, the first tape I ever bought.
You want some trivia there, by the way? Do you know that Too Fast for Love was not their first music? Shout at the Devil was their first music.
Right.
I saw them it was either 80, 81 at the Roxy on the Sunset Strip. It was the first club show I ever went to in my life. And I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to a real concert ever again. And all the songs were off of Shout at the Devil. They had a couple of the Too Fast for Love, but it was mostly Shout at the Devil.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right?
Great. Yeah.
So another thing I want to talk about is, okay, so your single Old School.
Yeah.
Okay. What I like about what you guys are writing about is against all the, I'm going to be blunt, the bullshit going on in the world, especially in 2024. And see, it's funny because I can put multiple meanings to that name of that song. But the point is we really need to get rid of all this hate in the world, no matter what the hate is, whether it's against the LGBTQ community or whether it's against metalheads that don't play the same metal as other metalheads. Yeah. Like, because that's what I grew up with in the 80s. It was like, you had to be the gatekeeper. I remember, I saw Slayer's first show and Metallica's first show ever. And after that, my friends were like, okay, you got to burn all your Motley Crue shit because you can't listen to Slayer and listen to Motley Crue. And it was just stupid. I also interviewed Josie Cotton a few times. We've become friends. And the first time I interviewed her, I'm like, I couldn't listen to you in the 80s. I wasn't allowed, because you were new wave. And God forbid I should listen to new wave, and that is something I love about today in 2024 is like those gatekeepers are very far and few in between. And, we have bands like you that are spreading love and togetherness and unity. And that's what I love about your music most of all. So tell us from your perspective more about the single Old School.
Dylan wrote the lyrics. He wrote the lyrics to all the songs. He's very intelligent, and he seems to have a good grasp on, all things, all the social political issues that's going on in the world, from basic human rights, women's rights, and LGBTQ, what you had mentioned before. And it's just it's and in this single, it's mostly like basically we're talking about how you have religious values today are not or say the old school religious values don't really relate to today's climate. And we're not an anti-religious band, but we're just saying, with the rise of secularism, it's just important to know that we just can't continue being divided or imposed on these old world values that just do not apply today. And it's horrible sometimes.
I'll tell you something interesting you probably don't know. And I was just talking about somebody with this recently. It's interesting bringing up the religious aspect because I'm a Jew. And even a lot of Jews don't realize this, but in the Jewish Bible, before there was ever such thing as Muslim or Christianity, there's no negative reference against anything LGBTQ. As a matter of fact, it does mention about there's a minimum of 6 genders. It talks about Adam probably was intersex. And there's no reference of sin about anything having to do with anybody that is gay and it actually, the Old Testament is full of gender fluid statements in it.
Yeah.
And that was the one that, if you're going to believe in that, came from God. Christianity and Muslim came from prophets, if you're going to believe in that. And they're the ones preaching that it's immoral and it's an abomination. And it's like, where did they even get that from? Because they didn't get it from God, is my viewpoint. Whether you believe in religion or not, like, I believe God is a God of love and loves all of his creatures. And if there is a God, why would the God hate anybody that they created?
I totally agree. And, you fast forward to the New Testament, and it's difficult to understand what's written in there. I've never read the whole thing through, but you have to have like a bunch of men writing these rules for you, and that you have to adhere to these rules, whether it be traditional or even misogynistic, and it's inequality. As for me, I've never been a religious person. I consider myself an atheist with maybe agnostic tendencies, I would say. And I never really was. I always appreciated people who believed in God. It's just, don't believe in the fluff that surrounds that. Just believe in like you say, a God of love. And right now it's division right now, and it's difficult.
It's terrible. And it's like, whether somebody believes, doesn't believe, I think it's also a human right too. Like,
exactly.
I'm a Jew that also believes in Buddhist philosophy, spirituality, New Age. I even have agnostic points of view. And in Judaism, that's quite all right. You're allowed to, like you're told not to believe, to study and learn. And you're told to, basically just be a good person, man. It's and question everything, because it's the only way you learn, not just because I said so type of thing.
That's right.
And so I'm so happy about a band like you that's like spreading this same type of message, because listen, I don't really get why people care what other people do as long as they're not intentionally harming people. I say you do you. You know, it doesn't affect my life in any way. Like these people that are against gay people, how does it affect their life? I don't understand. Or they're against trans. How does it affect their life? I don't understand. And we need music, because music's always the greatest message. And we need music like yours to spread a message to maybe turn things around.
I agree. And and Dylan has multiple topics in the other songs talking about all other kinds of injustices. And basically, and I agree with you. It's like, to me, it's like, to be a good person, you don't need a moral code to be a good person. I don't know. I find that's ridiculous.
Who decided the moral code too? Like you said, a bunch of men. That's really what the New Testament is, a bunch of men that wrote it. Like they're the ones deciding.
Exactly. And if I would belong to any church, it would be the Church of Common Sense.
I love that.
But I don't speak for all the band members, but we're pretty much, we love playing music, and it's important to have a message. It's important to have something you believe in. It's important to promote your convictions when you're in a band. And I find without having that glue that brings everything together in a band, it just maybe lacks a little bit of substance. But for us, it's important.
I think it's important too. I mean, like, you see a lot of that going on lately, where there's people, not band members, but people like yelling at bands, like, just sing the song, stop spraying, blah, 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 blah. Hello. Do they even understand what music is about? Music is about talking about your convictions, talking about different things. And yes, if you have that pulpit that you can spread your positive message to people from the stage, I'm 100% for it. So like if a band gets up there and gets everybody to be united, hey, that's the way it should be. And you know what? The fact of the matter is, music is therapy, and it's not supposed to be having no meaning to it. It's supposed to have meaning.
And it's supposed to be fun at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that's what makes people listen. It's fun. It's not like somebody's up there lecturing, but somebody that's writing music, singing music, what have you, they're singing about things because they have something to say. They have a perspective on it, and you can agree or not agree, because I don't think most bands expect that everybody's going to agree with what their song says. It's not for that. It's for, the cathartism of getting our thoughts out in a positive, fun way.
Absolutely. And it's, and we might get a little division, but we stick to what we do, and that's all we can do.
So tell us about some of the other songs. You got this self-titled EP coming out. Tell us about some of the other songs on there and maybe what they're about. You have this other song, Alone. Maybe talk about what that's about.
Sure.
People, I see the name of it, and I already have a feeling of like, hey, I want to listen to this song.
Sure. I'm not 100% familiar with what Dylan's message in that song. I guess he's talking about, represents both imagined and real fear. Okay. And, how we create our own scenarios that frighten us. Yeah. So he's basically singing about, for example, trying to get my thoughts here on that. Just like, for example, a real fear is being attacked late at night, get beaten up by a bunch of people, and that's a real fear, and that's a real scenario. And then I guess that scenario, real or imagined, it could be imagined, but then it becomes real. So I guess he's singing about our real and imagined fears,
Which you're right, it is interchangeable. And even the example that you brought, there have been scenarios like that, and I think, again, it's cathartic because these are things when people are listening to songs that they can relate to, put their own meaning to it. And that's the beauty of a great song. I even think of like the title, and I think of myself, and it was like, you think of like being all alone in the world, because people aren't on the same page as you, or for whatever reason. There's many definitions of being alone. It doesn't mean you could be, listen, I go and I do radio coverage at music festivals. I could be at a music festival with 100,000 people there and still feel alone.
Yeah.
So tell us when the EP is coming out, and tell us about your upcoming shows and all that good stuff.
Yeah, the EP is going live March 1st, and it's going to be available on all platforms. And we're really excited, and we've just got our CDs in the mail today. We had them printed, nice. And so we got actual tangible product to sell.
I love it.
So we're looking forward to that. And our EP release show is on February 29th at the 27 Club in the Market here in Ottawa. And I think it's going to be a great time. So we're opening for a great rock band, local band called Taming Sari, and a great Australian rock band called the Lazies. And I think it's just going to be just a great party. It's going to be lots of fun. We're looking forward to it.
I love it. And how do people connect to you guys on social media, YouTube, all that good stuff?
Yeah. We have our own Facebook page. We post occasionally, sometimes frequently, sometimes strategically, and we try and get the message out there and get people reminded that we're out there, and that we're a new and upcoming band, and we've got great little visualizers on YouTube, Instagram, so that's all going great, and also word of mouth, and that's I'm old school with that kind of stuff.
There's the old school right there. I love it.
Absolutely. Is
there anything else you want the listeners to know about Marble Ghost that we haven't covered already and that they should know?
I guess musically speaking, I just wanted to touch base on the fact that, like we were talking about multi-generational band. And what I think is really great is that we only bring in our little eras of influences in the music. And I think that's fantastic. We do consider ourselves a modern rock band with maybe a hint of metal. And we just get along great. The writing process is going great. We've got 5 new songs for another EP, so we're going to be heading back in the studio, or doing our parts in our little studios and getting it all mixed in my friend's studio. So next 2-3 months, we're going to be releasing another EP. So I think as far as musically, to me, it's interesting. I mean, I'm an 80s metal guy. And I've never really had the opportunity to play more modern rock or modern metal or anything like that. But it's the songs are to me are incredible, and I just love being in this band, and we all get along great. We all gel, and we all get along. We all have our own we have our own opinions about what we want to do, but we all come to an agreement, and it works like a collective. And it's actually one of the most easygoing bands I've ever played in, and that to me is
that says a lot.
Greatest thing. Yeah,
I love it. I love you guys. I hope everybody checks you guys out. Music is badass, and hey, thanks for being on the Adventures of Pipeman.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.